Do you want to know how to use Adobe Premiere even if you've never used it before? That's what we're going to go over today on this episode of
When I pull up to the spot, they be like...
Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk to you about the basics of editing videos in Adobe Premiere. Adobe Premiere is one of the flagship video editing softwares. It's one of the industry standards along with Final Cut Pro, and it's a great piece of software if you're really advanced with editing, or even if you're just starting out. Even if you're a beginner, you can dive right in and start using it right away with just a little bit of training. This is one of the first programs that I learned to edit videos on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel below and click on the bell icon to get notified about future videos regarding Adobe Premiere. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Alrighty, first things first, when you open up Adobe Premiere, you're going to be greeted with this start screen. What the start screen is giving you up front here a list of projects that you have previously worked on. If this is the first time you're opening Premiere, this list is likely going to be blank. So really the only options you're going to have are New Project, Open Project, New Team Project, or Open Team Project. I want you to click on New Project. This is going to open up another window where you're going to be greeted with your first wave of project settings. Let's see if it's going to actually let me in. There we go. First thing you want to do is name your project. I'm going to name this test project. Name it something intuitive, something that's going to help you to remember it, something that's going to be easy to find in your computer. Next, under location, we're going to click browse, and I'm going to select my videos folder here. And I just want to save this. I'm going to actually make a new folder. This is going to be test video. Double click that one and then click select folder. So it's going to save this test project in the test video folder, a little spelling, whatever, uppercase, blah, blah, blah. The rest of these settings you do not need to mess around with until you're a little bit more experienced with Premiere. It definitely isn't something you need to mess around with the first time you're opening this project or this program. Once you've set those two things, you're going to click OK. The software is going to think for a little bit, and then it's going to open up your workspace. Your workspace might look slightly different from mine. I've had a little bit of customization to my workspace, so I've moved things around, changed the size of things. One thing you can do to change your workspace, and this is totally optional, is click on Window, Workspaces, and I'm going to choose, I've already got editing selected. Let's do All Panels. It's probably going to pop up that text window. I'm going to close that text window, but it's going to rearrange the other stuff in the background, or at least it should. If it doesn't, no big deal. I can always adjust everything in the background to my preferences. You may get to a point where the program like freaks out on you a little bit. I think I've got one too many programs running here, so it may try to struggle for a second. Okay, we're good. So now I've got the workspace set to exactly how I want it to be set. Now this might look a little intimidating. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You've got a couple different a couple different sections up here. You got sections on the side with a whole bunch of buttons. You've got a section down here and you've got a section over here. Don't freak out. Don't panic. This is going to be fun. You're going to be a pro at this. After this tutorial, you're going to be able to open this up anytime you want and start making videos. I'm not going to go over every single section in this tutorial. I'm going to give you the basics that you need to know to get in, get your hands dirty, and start making videos right away. So I'm going to actually explain these sections as we come across them. And the first section that I want to explain down here is this bin section. It's noted as project and then whatever you name the project on the previous screen. So we are in this project, and this is our project bin, and in this window here, this is where all of our media is going to go. So everything from the sequence to the video footage to the photos that we import to the audio that we import, anything and everything that we're going to be eventually dragging over to our timeline is going to be stored in this project bin. So this is a very important window. You're going to want to keep this one open at all times. There's ways to click around and rearrange stuff. If you happen to click something and drag a window out of whack, you can always just click on the name again and then put it back to exactly where you want it to go. So don't freak out, but don't be click happy. Don't start clicking and dragging all willy-nilly. Really, you just listen to what I'm about to teach, and all right, I'm done babbling. So the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to import some footage. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can always go to File, Import. You see over here that there's a keyboard shortcut Control-I. If you hold the Control key and then you hit I, you're going to get the same effect here. On a Mac computer, I believe it's Command-I. In the bin, you can also right-click in the bin, and this is how we're going to do it, is we're going to import, and that's going to bring up the same menu as if you were to go to File. Actually, what I'm going to show you, the easiest thing to do here is to I want to actually, let's do let's do this old video that I had. These are all I want you to locate your footage. I've had this one clip here. I'm going to drag that clip from my folder here into the bin. Once I've got it dragged into the bin, you'll see it here. We've got the video file right here. This is the one we just imported. It's got the same name, and it's in our bin. So we've imported successfully our first bit of footage. I want you to then double-click that footage. Make sure you double-click on the name. Otherwise, it's going to ask you. It's going to see if it's going to try to import footage for you. Actually, if I double-click in the bin anywhere, that's going to bring up the same thing as File Import or Control or Command-I or right-clicking and clicking Import. You can double-click in the bin, and it's going to open up this import window, and then you can also import footage that way. So when you double-click the video file name, make sure you click on the text here. We're going to get this video that I've got right here, and this is, wow, a really yellow version of me, super old video, not that old, a couple months old, lots of stubble, holy crap. Need some makeup. I need to hook up with a makeup artist here over on YouTube to get that fixed up. Anybody know any makeup artists? Shout them out in the comments below. As you can see, I need a lot of work. So we've got our footage imported. We see it in our preview monitor up here. And what this preview monitor is, it allows us to review the footage that we just selected, that we just opened up. So if we know that when we recorded our video, there's a lot of dead space in our videos where we only want to keep certain sections. Let's say we're explaining how to perform a process or how to do something. And there's points in the video where we're not talking for extended periods of time, and we don't want to include those in our video. We only want to include the points, the parts of the video where we're making important points. We can actually scrub. Now, scrubbing is a technical term for taking the playhead and then dragging it back and forth across your footage. We can actually scrub through our footage and find the points that we want to include in our video. Once we've found the, let's say I don't want the part where my hair's messed up. I want this part here. I want to start and import only the part here where I'm talking about this important tip in the video recorded footage, and I want to start at this point. I'm going to click this little button here. This is the mark in point. Now what that's doing is marking in the first point of our footage where we want to start. Now let's say
value at least. What's cool about videos and presentation is that
what's cool about video and presentation is I'm going to scroll back a little bit and put the in point there.
What's cool about videos and presentation is that adding videos.
I screwed up a couple times, but let's just say for the sake of this tutorial, I want to only include that first part. I'm going to set my out point. So let's mark out, and then I've successfully marked in and out the footage that I want to import into my timeline. Now there's now we haven't created the timeline yet. I wonder if the program is going to let me do this. Let's say if I click on the video footage here and then drag it to where it says drop media here to create sequence. I clicked and I dragged that footage from the source preview monitor into my timeline. So what that actually did was imported that footage, again, imported the footage or moved the footage or told the program that, hey, I want to use this footage as part of my main video sequence. So now I've got that clipped set of footage, that clipped sequence that I marked in and out over here in my source monitor is now in my timeline. And this is where it gets fun. This is where we can start adding graphics and other bits of video and audio, et cetera, and really start to create the meat of our video here. And again, instead of importing the entire video, which I believe is, let's see, it's at least 5 minutes long. It's 10 minutes long. This whole entire clip I selected here is 10 minutes long, but I only imported into the timeline about 4 seconds. 4 seconds, 1,000.
What's cool about videos and presentation is that
3,000, 1,000. I've got 4 seconds of video now successfully added to my video timeline. Let's say I want to add another section from this main sequence here. I'm gonna
using Google Slides, Microsoft PowerPoint, or OpenOffice Impress.
Okay. I like the way I ended that sentence, the way I explained it. I'm going to set the out point here. I'm going to go back a little further to the beginning of that sentence.
It's actually very easy to.
It's actually very easy.
And with all the slideshow software out there, it's actually very easy to incorporate video into your presentation no matter what you're using. Google Slides, Microsoft PowerPoint, or OpenOffice Impress.
Terrific. So I've marked an in and out point again for the second bit of footage that I want to use, and I want to drag that clip. So I'm going to click anywhere in the part where I see the picture. I'm going to drag that over, put it on my timeline, and I actually want to butt it right up next to that last bit of footage. If I have snapping on, and we'll go over some of these tools in a little bit here, but snapping is going to actually snap that from where it was and find something close, and then boom, move it right over so it's butt right up against that last clip. So this is what it looks like.
And with all the slideshow software out,
boom. Okay, cool. So now you've got 2 bits of footage that you've marked in and out points from your source monitor imported into your timeline. Nice job. Then from this point forward, really what you're doing is you're repeating the process over and over, marking in and out points on your video footage and dragging the footage over into your timeline until you get all the clips that you need from your video file into your timeline. At this point, we can start editing our video. If you look down here in the tools section, we're going to see a whole list of tools here that we'll eventually get to know very well and learn everything about, but for now I want to teach you the 3 most fundamental that you're going to be using over and over and over again. And that's the selection tool, the razor tool, and the text tool, or type tool as they call it. Use the selector tool to move elements on your timeline around, use the razor tool to cut out elements from the media in your timeline, and use the text tool to add text to your videos. So let's say even after dragging the clip from my source monitor into my timeline, there's still some fine tuning that I want to do with my video. I'm going to use this zoom bar down here and drag one side to zoom in a little bit. You can see from the audio clip that there's a little bit of dead space to the left and to the right of this video file. I want to get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is use my razor tool, and I'm going to hover over the part on my timeline of the media where we can see that the audio, there is no audio, completely blank up into right here. And I want to select or click, and then what the software did is it actually trimmed a spot right there, spliced the footage, and created basically 2 separate clips. So what I can do with this first bit is click on it and hit the delete key on my keyboard. I can do the same thing for the other side, go right up to where there's no more audio, using my selector tool, click on it. I can also right click it and hit clear. And that's going to remove the bits of video footage that I no longer want on my timeline. I can then drag the footage over, left or right, and just to keep everything timed up right, move that stuff over as well. And this one looks like there's a lot of dead space. So if I didn't want to necessarily cut and use the razor tool, I can also use my selection tool. Select the clip that I want to trim up, and I'm going to actually move my playhead, scrub that over to where the audio is just beginning. And then hover over the leftmost part of that clip, and you're going to see the selection tool change from the arrow to the red bar with the little arrow in the middle. Now what I do is click and hold and drag all the way over to the playhead until it snaps to it, if I've got the snap selection tool on, that little magnifying glass. Release, and I've successfully trimmed the front part of the clip. I'm going to move this over. I'm going to do the same thing to the end. Blah, blah, blah.
now remember add
boop. I screw up a few times, so you can do this to really fine-tune your footage and get everything just right. I'm going to stop it there. I'm going to drag on the rightmost part of the clip. I'm going to drag over to the left and release, and I've successfully then trimmed the footage directly in my timeline to get it precisely and exactly to where I want it to start and where I want it to end. So again, you're really just going to rinse and repeat and use the same process over and over. Import footage that you need to import. Open up the footage in your source timeline. Set the in and out markers for where you want the section of video to be imported into your video. Then drag that section over into your timeline and include that as part of your main video sequence. Man, this kid's goofy. The last tool that I really want to show you is how to add text to your videos. It's very, very simple. Now, if you're running an older version of Adobe Premiere, they've changed the text tool a little bit, and I'm going to make a full-blown tutorial on how to use this brand new text tool in depth, but I really want to get you started. So what you can do is you can select at the bottom of this list here, you've got your type tool. Now, on my timeline, I'm going to drag the blue playhead to where I want to actually import or add this text. And then I hover over the video in the program monitor, and I click, and this little red box is going to appear. Now, once that box appears, you can begin typing your text in Premiere. So I've got the text typed up right there. I'm going to use my selection tool to change that red box to a blue box. So now I'm no longer editing the text, but I am going to be able to drag this text around to wherever I want to drag the text around to. So I want the text kind of on the lower part of the screen right there. Perfect. So let's say I want to edit my text, maybe the font's wrong or the color's wrong, and I want to change that. I'm going to keep my selection tool selected, and I'm going to double click the text. That's going to highlight the entire set of text, and as you see here, it selected the text tool or the type tool automatically for me. I then want to go to my effect controls panel, and if you don't see that, you can always select Window and make sure Effect Controls is selected. You're going to see the options available here for editing your text. Now, don't freak out on the other options. There's stuff for motion, there's stuff for opacity, there's stuff for time mapping. Don't worry about that for now. We're just going to worry about where it says text. With the text selected, highlighted, we're going to see here in this drop-down, we've currently got Tahoma as the font option. I'm going to change that to something cool. Let's do Tamagotchi. That's a little bit hard to read. You may have a reason for using Tamagotchi. You might not. I actually want to do something a little bit simpler. Any text that you choose is fine. Magneto. Terrific. So I've changed the font. I want to change it from bold to, I don't have any options, so I got to keep it bold. I can also change the size here. We're currently at 100 for size. I can change that by going up or down. I also see that I'm left justified. I want to center justify this and then take my selection tool and move that back over to the middle. Boom, perfect. Okay, double click the text again. And then this fill part, that's actually the color of my text. So let's say I wanted to change it to maybe a pink or a purple. Select the color that you want to use. You can also type in the values here and then click OK. It's going to change the text to purple. I want it to stand out a little bit, so I'm going to give it a nice white stroke. I'm going to change the size of the stroke here all the way to the right. I'm going to give it a 5-point stroke. There we go. That makes it pop a little bit. Type your text. Boom. Looks really good. There's also some other settings I can change down here, the position of where it is. Most of the stuff here, though, you can change manually by using your selection tool and then clicking on the text, dragging it around, resizing the text box, etc., etc. So the text is edited to exactly where I want it, and my video looks pretty awesome. Where am I sitting at? I'm sitting at about $1.40 for time length here. So let's say that my video is where I want it to be. And now I want to export so that I have the file to upload to my favorite site. Could be YouTube, Teachable, Udemy, Facebook, wherever, Instagram, any of those sites. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the file menu up top. I'm going to click export. I'm going to click media. This is going to bring up another screen. Don't be intimidated by everything you're seeing on the screen. I'm going to walk you through exactly what to do and what settings to change so that it's the easiest possible for you. First thing I want to do to make this as easy as possible is I'm going to click the Match Sequence Settings. So what that's going to do is going to take my original video, it's going to look at it, look at the settings, and then make the exported video match those settings exactly. I'm going to make another video explaining other export settings, but for now, this one will give you the best result. I also want to change the output name, and this is output name, this is output location for where this video is going to actually save to and what the file is going to be named as. So let me go back and go to this test video folder. I'm going to make a new folder inside this project folder and call it Final. This is the same folder that we used to create this project, the original folder that we made. I made this Final folder. This is where I like to save my final videos, and this is just a workflow thing. You may have a different workflow, so you don't have to follow the same exact principle, but I'm going to do this Final presentation. I'm going to name that. That's going to be the name of the file. It's going to save this as an MPEG, and then I'm going to click Save. Primo. Don't worry about changing any of the other settings except for use maximum render quality. I find that gives me the best looking video footage once the final video is exported. After you've set those simple settings, I want you to click Export. Now Premiere is going to think it's going to give me an estimated time remaining for the video file, and once the minute and 30-40 seconds is done, I should have a final mixed clean video ready to go, ready to upload to wherever I need to upload this video to. And that's it. Once Premiere is done thinking, we're going to scroll back over to our project folder. We're going to click on this, we're going to click on test video, and we see in our final folder that we've got the final presentation video file there. We're going to double click it. It's going to open up in our favorite video preview software. What's cool about videos and boom.
Is that adding videos and with all the slideshow software out there, it's actually very easy.
Now this video could have used a little bit of color correction. I could have worn makeup, to be honest with you, to clear up some of the blemishes or whatever. But you just basically started a project from scratch, and you exported your video, and you added titles. Let's see if our titles showed up. Make sure that they showed up. Of course they showed up, but let's go over to our end here. Our title must not have lasted for very long. There we go. Type your text. Bump button. Our title showed up. Our video looks crisp and clean. Our title goes away. We've got a final exported video out of Adobe Premiere. So now, at this point, now you know how to create videos using Adobe Premiere. Super simple, super easy, and hopefully super fun. That's it. Now you know how to edit videos using Adobe Premiere. I'm going to make additional tutorials on the different features of Adobe Premiere, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to get notified in the future. Also, if you're a video producer and you want more tips on how to create content for the web, or you're a newbie just starting out in production, I'm going to put a link below to the Production Life community on Facebook. It's a community that I'm just starting to grow, and I want to get people involved to pass information and ideas back and forth when it comes to creating content for the internet. That's it for this episode. My name is Steve Kwiecinski, and thanks for tuning in.